Do 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 do. Joe and Mr. Greg!
Boys and girls, in today's art lesson, I'm going to show you how you can make some really cool looking leaves. We'll be using lots of different materials, and I think you'll really like it. Let's get started. To start this lesson, you'll need crayons and paint and a Sharpie. Okay? We're going to start by folding the paper. After we fold the paper, we're going to actually take that Sharpie and do some lines on our folds. So make sure your folds are nice and neat. You can see I'm lining it up just right before I use the side of my thumb to smooth it out. I'm going to open it back up and do the same thing the other way. So I did a hot dog fold, and then I did a hamburger fold, both smoothing it out with the side of my thumb. Now I'm going to get that Sharpie out and do my 2 lines, okay? Now, to do the leaves themselves, I have to put in the stems, but make sure you put your name at the bottom first. We're going to put our names on. So I'm going to start with the stems, and then from there, I'll build my leaf. And there's a lot of different kinds of leaves out there. There's maple leaves and oak leaves and beech tree leaves and all kinds of different leaves. So I'm going to show you a couple different ones. This one will turn into an oak. This one here will turn into a beech, and you can see it's kind of pointy. This one will turn into a red maple, and that one will turn into an oak as well. So a little bit of variety in the types of leaves you'll be seeing me do. You can do all 4 the same if you want, but I think you'll have more fun if you try some different ones. That wavy one is a white oak. You might remember wavy white. And this is what's called a red oak. It has little jagged tops to it. So that's a red oak. Okay, and then the one I'm going to do next is what's called a red maple. And you might remember that red has 3 letters, and red maples have 3 long, let's call them fingers. I'm not sure what they're, lobes maybe? Like you have earlobes. Anyways, after that, we're going to go ahead and put in the rest of the stem, and then add some veins on the leaf itself before going into some coloring. Okay, so you're going to do all those steps, the folding, the tracing the fold, and drawing your leaves with the veins and the stems. Then you're going to get out some crayons and go around them very neatly. You can see how I'm going around my leaf and then coloring in the big area a little bit more quickly. Okay? If you want to mix your colors in there, you can. It can get really fun and exciting to play around with mixed colors. Just try to keep your pressure consistent and try your best not to color over the leaf, because we're going to paint the leaf later. Okay? So as you can see, I'm using different colors in each of the 4 boxes. If you want to use the same colors, that would be fine. I think it would just look a little bit more exciting if you played around with using different colors. So I chose a pink, a blue, a green, and a yellow. Now I'm ready to start painting. And paint is a little difficult at first, but you'll get used to it. We're using what's called watercolor paint. And with that, you'll each get a brush, you'll each get a paint set, and you'll each get a little teeny tiny bit of water in a cup. You don't need much. Okay? And since a lot of you are working at small areas, you'll have to be very careful not to bump into each other's paint supplies. Otherwise, we'll have big messes on the floor and all over your working area. So keep it clean. All right, you can see I just painted that all with water. Now I'm dipping in to the orange. You don't want to scrub.
Mrs. Min, please call the office. Mrs. Min.
Sorry, I'm at school, so we just had an announcement here. Okay, so you don't want to scrub. If you scrub, you might put a hole in the paper. The paper I'm supplying you with is not really meant for painting, so just be soft with it. Use the tip of your brush. Make sure it's nice and wet so that it paints nicely and spreads the paint nicely. Okay? You might want to clean your brush out frequently. Run your brush up the side of your cup so that it stays nice and clean. And you can see I'm just wetting it, and since this is a red maple leaf, I'm going to try some red on my brush. So again, I'm tickling the red and I'm coming in, and it went on a little bit too heavy for me, so I added some water to my brush, and then I'm going to spread it out a little bit more. Okay? Now, if you've ever looked at leaves on the ground or in the trees, as fall comes, they start to change color. A lot of them change to a brown. Some are nice and yellow and orange and red, but some go straight to brown. So you can play around with browns, yellows, oranges, reds, maybe even some greens. I would stay away from the blues and the purples, okay? Because those are pretty unusual to find those types of colors in the leaves. So stay with the warm colors along with greens and browns. Now I am going to experiment with the green. You can see that went on pretty heavy, so I added some water and it spread out. Now I'm going into yellow, which is next to green on the color wheel, so it looks fine. Now be careful. Don't put it on too dark too soon. You can see right there, I made my brown a little too dark, so I added some water to thin it out. Now, as you get finished, we're going to need to place these in a part of the room where they can dry, and they will be very drippy, so be super careful not to let the drips drop all over yourself or all over somebody on your way to the drying area. I hope you have fun on this one, and I'm sure it'll turn out great. I can't wait to see how yours turns out. Have fun.